Good morning. Today I want to talk about the top 10 challenges that educators face when implementing AI into the classroom. Welcome back to Digital Futures Education. It's a great top. I think this is a great topic because, as much as we have these amazing AI tools that can enhance learning and enhance student understanding of concepts, enhance our own workflows, I think we always have to be aware of the consistent challenges um, and barriers that we face with the use of AI within traditional systems like education. And also, we can think about how these barriers also exist in learning gaps with professional fields as well. Um, but these are learning gaps, areas to be considered of to help make the implementation of AI more effective and more efficient in your learning environments. The first topic is lack of understanding. So, what I mean by lack of understanding can be a couple things. It can be the lack of understanding how AI works, the lack of understanding of several of the vocabulary terms related to AI, such as machine learning or natural language processing. Not everybody is up to date with these technical terms. Not everybody is sure what they mean, and what they mean specifically when you're inputting your own voice, text, data into these applications. So I think it's important just to keep in mind that everybody is on a different level of understanding when implementing AI in their classroom as an educator or just understanding how to use it for a workflow. It's important to understand that they may need support with a lot of the terminology related to understanding AI and how it effectively can create new outcomes for them. The next big challenge is training and professional development. So, educate educators need continuous and ongoing training and professional development in the area of AI. Since it is a topic which is a technology topic in which we know topics are always changing, evolving, and the challenges are always changing and evolving, it's important that educators have the resources to be able to update their own understanding of the tools, but also opportunities to practice, communities to speak with and collaborate with on their understanding to support their own professional growth. This can be as simple as a small district working group around using AI tools and reviewing AI tools, but this can also be as simple as just a place to ask a question or confirm a privacy policy or whether or not a tool is appropriate for the use in the classroom. So make sure that there is a way that educators can support their own learning, get additional training, and support their use of how AI and how it can be used. And the next one is access to resources. So, access to resources is such a big challenge with digital tools and resources in general, as it relates to digital equity and access to learning resources that are digital. We've already faced a number of challenges across the world. So, whether that also connects to connectivity. So just in the past, and we currently face a big digital divide in terms of access to internet, access to consistent devices, and also the knowledge on how to use these devices. I think we also have to be very aware that this divide doesn't continue to increase. This inequity can happen in a lot of different ways. It can happen whether it's, lack of availability of a digital resource or internet connection to be able to learn AI tools and how to implement them, lack of consistent training, lack of consistent knowledge and support for utilizing the tools. And all we're really trying to do is just create the best learning environments for students. So it's just important that we're aware that we're not creating a new AI gap in understanding for our students or ourselves. So it's important to allocate necessary funding, allocate necessary support for how to use these tools in the classroom and support an equitable access to the tools as well. The next big challenge is a challenge for everybody. It's it's about data privacy concerns. With data privacy, we already face numerous challenges with having people understand the value of their own privacy and how entering their own personally identifiable information into applications can pose a risk, let alone students adding their own personally identifiable information. So as we enter the time of new AI tools that utilize data much differently even than traditional EdTech tools, we want to make sure we also understand the privacy policies, uh, seek to attain agreements for data privacy in our districts, in our workplaces, that these tools are going to preserve our data as they process the data that we input into these tools. So it's something that we need to have a consistent vision for as we implement AI tools, and a consistent vision for the types of privacy policies so that we're aware of how changes to privacy policies can impact how data is being handled. The next big topic is balancing AI and human interaction. Being sure that balancing AI and human interaction takes place when implementing AI is very important, because the AI is becoming so powerful that it can replace some of these elements that humans are naturally used to in the communication process. Are we properly evaluating the responses from the AI to match what we need as humans? Or are we utilizing responses from AI that lack some ground in human understanding? Uh, because it is what we put back into the AI from a human perspective that helps the AI develop, right? So I think we just need to make sure that as we implement AI, particularly with students, particularly with ourselves, and we integrate it into educational experiences, that we do it with a lens for ethics and bias from the tools as they're being used. And we are continually reviewing how these tools impact our understanding of the content and also how we teach it. But we're also being mindful of the amount of AI that gets into and drives our conversations, so that we consistently have a lens of reviewing the responses from AI to make sure that they are authentic and can really actually support our learning and growth, as opposed to becoming another barrier due to inaccurate information. The next challenge is aligning AI with existing curriculum. It's going to take creativity in order to identify the proper places where AI fits most appropriately with curriculum. And AI can be used to address numerous challenges, such as modifying text for readers, producing, more consistency within lesson plan development, um, authentic assessments, which can be adaptive. There's tremendous power in AI that needs to be utilized appropriately, when implemented into existing curriculum. So I think we need to be very thoughtful of how we do that and identify gaps. Basically, I think we need to be able to identify opportunities in which we can utilize our own creativity to see where the AI fits with existing curriculum. The next topic is student equity with AI. As a challenge, student equity, as I said, with equitable access of AI in general, student equity of AI in terms of having the same resources available to them to be able to learn and develop as students is incredibly important. It's an essential part of just having a quality education, is being able to know that, like, you're learning the tools that are essentially going to support you in the future in your next level of education. Um, so it's important that anything that's done is done with a lens of equity, a lens to be able to review, is the AI working towards student learning as much as it is maybe teacher process or improvement of processes. I think there needs to be a balance between those two sides of the scale. Efficiency in processes, and then impact on student learning. And this leads to my next topic, which is ethical concerns. Now, I think this topic naturally has been coming out of several of the last points I've been talking about, but there is a tremendous concern around ethical use of AI. And it's just very important to have that topic. It's very important to have that topic in your lens for reviewing AI and also considering how it's being implemented into the classroom. There are going to be ethical dilemmas when implementing AI into the classroom. And as we become more consistent with the use of the tools and we have more experience with the use of the tools, these ethical dilemmas are going to continue to arise. So I think educators need to have their own lens and decision making tree per se of how they're going to address um, AI in the classroom from an ethical perspective of, is this the right way to be teaching the content that I'm delivering? Is this the best way? And does it pose long-term issues of ethics, long-term issues of bias? Am I utilizing AI tools which represent consistency for my students? The next topic, incredibly important with implementation of any ed tech or technical need, and that is technical support. Technical support is essential, with implementation of AI, as there's a need to kind of close the gap of how the technology works from a technical perspective. There is the EdTech integration piece of how tools are properly implemented into the classroom setting, but then there's also the technical component of how the tool functions, works within devices, types of memory and data that's stored. What do we do when there's an issue with the technology of AI? And there is a learning curve also for our technical teams to be able to best understand how the data is collected, how the tools work, and how to best support educators when they begin to implement these tools. So it's really important to kind of have a vision for how technical support plays a role in the implementation of AI, and ultimately, what the next steps can be for teams to really support the use of AI in the classroom from a technical perspective. The final step here is measuring the effectiveness for AI implementation in the classroom. You know, one way to think about, anything that you're looking at evaluating is thinking of what gets measured gets done. And I think that's an important step with anything, right? Whatever we're trying to do, we're always trying to evaluate the effectiveness and review how well we did something. So, this is a fluid process, often with specific tools and benchmarks that are great to have as we go along the way. As districts begin to implement AI tools, begin to discuss how they're implementing them and begin to implement them, you know, with guardrails in place, ideally, I think it's also important to think about how we're going to measure the effectiveness. So, starting with being evaluative of how well the tools support learning centered classrooms and how the tools support different types of instructional models, and and framing professional development opportunities to address these areas in terms of curriculum development, evaluation methods, assessments for students, assessments for the classroom. There are a number of ways that you can tackle evaluating the effectiveness, and be sure to have very specific goals. One way to begin your practice for effectively evaluating the use of the AI tools is just to set some preliminary goals for what you want to see the AI do with teaching and learning in your environment. Do you want AI to enhance instruction? Do you want an AI to enhance student performance? Do you want AI to improve instructional practices? Be specific around the goals that you set for the use of the AI so that you can always look at how well the goals are being met. Now, there's a number of ways of approaching it, and also not to create too many goals so that as you begin to review and allocate your resources towards meeting your goals, you're not trying to assess too many things because you'll be a mile wide and an inch deep. A mile wide and an inch deep is not going to necessarily help you evaluate the effectiveness of the depth of, how the impact of the tools could be. So, think concretely around what you're trying to measure, put some measures in place, have qualitative and quantitative measures for the effectiveness of AI tools, have, student and educator feedback inform the process of evaluating the tools, and be sure that you're keeping an open mind, but at the same time, putting in strong supports for the technical, the data privacy, the support with technical development and professional development to utilize the tools. Develop a system for reviewing and implementing AI tools. With measures that you feel help protect you for data privacy, help improve teacher workflow, and ultimately help improve student learning. So thanks for joining me for this video. I hope some of these tips help you either begin designing or consider developing your vision for the use of AI in classrooms. And think about it from the perspective of, yes, these are challenges. Yes, these are challenges. But at the end of the day, these challenges are what is the evolving scope of education. And it's incredibly important for us to keep our eyes on these moving parts to best do what we can so that we can do the best we can with implementing AI tools in education. And get everyone involved with understanding our framework for doing so. So thanks for watching the video. Please reach out if you feel like I can help in any way. Talk to you soon. This video is all about the real reasons online learners quit and how I help them stay on track. So let's talk about something that's a little uncomfortable in terms of motivation, but it happens. The fact is that most people who start an online course never finish it. And I get it. I've been an online learner, and I've also been the instructor, and I've been that online learner who's abandoned a course before. But I'm going to speak to you a little bit from the perspective of a professor, coach, and someone instructing hundreds of people to be successful at an online course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the real reasons why people quit and how we can help get them back on track. And I'm speaking especially to those who are looking to do tech careers and tech certifications, and those who are changing careers and upskilling. So if you've ever signed up for a course and then ghosted, this video is for you. So the first reason is lack of structure. Some courses lack structure or enough structure for the learners they're targeting. A lot of courses are self-paced now. The idea of a self-paced course is great until you realize you need to have your own level of accountability. So you need to realize you need your own accountability, and you can function with your own deadlines, because there are no deadlines in a lot of self-paced courses. So sometimes when there's no deadlines, no accountability, often there's no progress. And if you're juggling work, family, any other obligations, it's only going to make it harder. And if you're trying to squeeze everything in, time disappears very quickly. So what do I do differently? I give my students structure. It's an important part of online learning and any type of learning in general. Even in my self-paced courses, I give my students goal-setting checklists, progress trackers, and real-world timelines it to help streamline these processes. At the end of the day, having a structure equals having freedom, having understanding your progress and your goals. Number 2, information overload. The second big reason people quit is information overload. They start taking a new course, they start looking through the materials, maybe they haven't taken a course in a while, and they really need to learn to be patient with themselves. But it's very easy to enter information overload and start to feel overwhelmed by either the expectations of the learning or thinking about how they're going to improve their learning and understand all this content in a very efficient and effective way. We live in a world where you can take 50 courses, watch 1,000 tutorials, and sometimes feel like you're still not making any progress. People try to study everything at once, the back part of the course, and then they freeze, and they're instantly overwhelmed, which affects their motivation. So what's my fix for this issue? I focus on one clear learning path. If what you're learning is not aligned with your next job, skip it. That's going to help you keep your learning sequenced, relatable, and you're going to be more engaged with the actual task of understanding the concepts that you think are going to be the most important to you. I like to break it into small, digestible chunks, and there's a big difference between just-in-time knowledge and just-in-case. So the number three reason is no feedback and no support. And this is a huge reason because, especially in a self-paced course, you may not know when to reach out for support or request feedback. This is a big killing for many people, and it's aligned with that piece of the accountability. By a course where you don't feel confident enough to reach out to ask someone about some of the content. No matter how motivated you are, you may not have someone cheering you on. And when you get stuck, you're gonna lose motivation. And when you get it right, you might not even be able to showcase what you know. I make sure my students get feedback, whether it's progress-based feedback, specific motivation towards their next step feedback. It can be a quick note, a quick message. The feeling of feeling connected with them in a quick way really can help keep them motivated, keep them engaged, and also at the end of the day, build valuable relationships, because that's what makes things successful. At Digital Futures Education, focus on student-centered learning, real coaching, real support, real feedback, and also honest check-ins, and making sure no one falls through the cracks. Reason number 4, imposter syndrome and self-doubt. This one's incredibly real. Self-doubt. This is especially true in tech careers and tech learning. You may start learning IP addresses, file sharing, AI tools. Suddenly you're like, who do I think I am? I've watched brilliant students talk themselves out of success and progress, and they felt behind when they didn't need to. What I do is I build confidence early. We start with early wins, early successes, small projects, small challenges. We work together. We work to understand a few concepts really well. And I always remind students that nobody was born knowing this information. You're building a skill set and you're building a mindset. And that's the real difference. And the mindset is that you keep going. Reason number 5, life happens. Family, emergencies, burnout, that's all normal. You can fall behind very easily with your goals. Sometimes people feel shame, and that's what makes them quit. They lose passion because they feel shame or they don't feel like they're progressing because of other obligations. So what's my approach? I design all my programs with flexibility and forgiveness built in. If you miss a week, that's cool. Let's reset. You're not behind. You're on your timeline. I help students build re-entry points and build their timeline and recognize it. Answering questions like, what's the easiest next step? That small moment of clarity can help make all the difference. All of this is part of my Digital Futures Education coaching model. I don't just give you a syllabus and say good luck. We walk through the 5 key phases. Number 1 is goal setting. Number two is research and finding your path. Number 3 is skill building. 4 is personal branding. 5 is opportunity and growth. It's designed to help people move from stuck to confident with support at every stage. So if you're stuck right now, halfway through a course, out feeling like you're falling behind, or unsure of just what to do next, you're not alone and it's not too late. Drop a comment and let me know why you may be struggling. Definitely hit subscribe and check out my other videos. I'm going to help keep you motivated, introduce you to new topics. Check out my videos on learning smarter, not harder, building tech skills, and taking control of your career path. And if you want my free online learning restart guide, the link is in the description. Let's get back on track together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. So what is proper documentation? What is documentation? What is IT documentation? So documentation is essentially that as IT problem issues with systems arise, that there is a strategic process for documenting, noting the issue, noting the troubleshooting, what the issues were, and the steps taken to solve the problem. It's done specifically and targeted in a way that can essentially be provided as notes on the issue within a knowledge base, within another platform that are similar to that issue. And the notes essentially help people review methods that were used, historical updates that were made to a system. It's a really important process to help not only people when you're onboarding to understand the types of issues you might encounter, but also to be able to review in the future as similar issues arise. And it's also a historical. It's also a way of creating a historical record of the type of work you're doing, issues that arise while you're working with the technology, to also document your methodology of learning the tools and improving your processes, which is, at the end of the day, a very big part of IT is improving your processes, based on your understandings, and, improving every day, what you're working on, how you're working on it, and, finding solutions that help. So I do think it's important that you understand what documentation is, why it's important, what it provides for the organization, what it can provide for you, and also to be patient with yourself. Also be patient with yourself as you start to provide and create documentation on topics that you may not always have the solution right away when you begin documenting something, but through the process of identifying the problem, through identifying the issue, and then taking an attempt to document it, it's going to help you be more thoughtful about your process.